Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name is Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And we're both art instructors here at California's largest painting tip studio, Purple Easel.
Auguste Renoir
Ooh.
was a French Impressionist painter, and you may probably know him, but he was good buddies with Monet.
Okay.
So at least that gives you some context. So I don't really know much about his upbringing. I was just way too excited to get into his art. And then there's another rabbit hole that I ended up spending quite a bit of time on, which we'll get into later. But I know at some point he saved up money to move to Paris, which was the art capital at the time, by painting china, fans, and window shades.
Oh, really?
So basically anything he could get his hands on to make some scratch. So speaking of Claude Monet, in 1860, he and Monet discovered that shadows were not black or brown, but actually a reflection of the object around them, which now we're like, duh.
Yeah.
Right? But then it was rather revolutionary. It was not a concept that was out there at that point, and it has become referred to now as diffused reflection. So there's the good art term for you. You can impress all your friends at your next cocktail party.
Do you know about diffused reflections?
Well, let me tell you. Monet and Renoir worked closely together, often side by side, painting the exact same scene. And I happen to have a selection here where first we have Renoir's rendition, and then we have Monet's. And it's crazy. They're the exact same thing. They're both in Impressionist style, but they look so different.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some opinions, actually.
Go on.
I kind of like Old Boys better, not Monet's.
I kind of do too. I think Monet's color palette is more exaggerated.
Yeah. I do like it.
It's pretty.
I do like it.
The
water is hitting. It's good. But I say it's over. I feel like in Monet's, there's elements that I like versus the overallness.
Yeah, there's a tonality of Renoir's that Monet's does not have. It's like he turned his saturation way up. And so in comparison, it looks almost cartoonish.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of the beginning of all of our events when we go into our little spiel about mine isn't going to look exactly like the original and yours isn't going to look like either of them. Everybody laughs. But it's true. And here's a great example of famous artists painting the exact same thing. They look completely different.
This is actually pretty cool because I've never seen them like compared side by side like this.
Yeah. I was pretty excited to find this. This is cool.
Yeah, very.
So not only do we have their comparison, but we also have a lovely portrait that Renoir did of Monet painting in his garden. And I just think that's so cute. An artist painting an artist.
Yeah.
I love it.
That besties.
There were also a couple self-portraits that he had done. I didn't include them because we have so much good stuff. I had to really pick and choose. But Renoir really took inspiration from other artists that were popular around the time, including Degas, who was famous for painting dancers. And so I included this cute little ballerina. And you can totally see the Impressionist style. I think something that's notable in this one is how the skirt?
Yeah.
What is it called? Tutu?
The poofiness.
The poofy tutu basically blends right into the background. There's a very distinct softness about it. Yeah. Which marks some of his early work. And he's going to throw that all out the door later on.
Oh.
Because, they do.
Yes, true.
So I included this one from 1880 by the water because it is just a sweet moment between what I presume is a father and daughter, but maybe it's her uncle, maybe it's a family friend, who knows. But the landscape background, total impressionist, classic vibes. And then the figures are really kind of unique because the girl is basically facing away from the viewer. Yeah. And we've talked about that in other paintings before, how that has a tendency to just like kind of suck you in.
Yeah, because you're like, well, what's going on between these two? I want to know what they're talking about.
I kind of want to be an eavesdropper right now. What does that conversation look like?
Very much so. And also just with this piece, and one thing I really do like about impressionistic paintings is there's this dreaminess to it because it's kind of, you can see the movement and the strokes of the paint so much to where it almost feels like that when you just like wake up and everything's kind of blurry kind of vibe. And it looks very nice and dreamy.
It does. It totally does. So Luncheon of the Boating Party is one of his more popular works. And I think it's so interesting because the light.
Yeah, I was, if you look at the dinner table, like the people are cool, but if you look at all that little fine detail, and it's so reflective, it's so shiny, and you get all of that so small detail in the wine and like the little glasses, the tinier little glasses, because there's even little tiny ones in there.
Yeah.
The wine, the little cheeses, and all that stuff.
So it's a still life, it's portraits, and it's a landscape all rolled into one. And I don't think many people were tackling that ambitious of a project at the time. I think this one in particular won several awards. And like people wanted it. Like there was a fight for who got to buy it.
That.
But it's really interesting how there's kind of empty space in the upper corner because the two people are kind of far apart. And I think that's a conscious decision because otherwise they'd be blocking the light source. All the light's coming from outside of this little awning. And if you look closely at the woman, kind of pretty much in the middle, but then slightly off center, she's drinking.
Okay.
And she is actually referenced in the movie Amélie, which is a French film, as pretty popular, because she's the only one that's basically like not engaged with the people there, but she's staring right at the viewer.
Yeah.
Which I think is very like penetrating in a way.
That is so true.
There's so much going on in this particular
I like it because there's so much, my eyes kind of bouncing around. But yeah, you're right. She's the only one that's not engaged with anyone else.
Yeah, they're all having a good time, and she's just like, whatever. I'm just a lot, and it's a vibe.
It's a whole vibe. Like I want to be at this party,
right? Here is a portrait that I have been thinking about for months.
Months.
He's really the reason we're here today because we went to the Getty not that long ago, and this was there.
Okay.
And there was just something about this piece. I swear, whoever this man is, he's seen into my soul. Like, his eyes are so piercing.
So I'm seeing my fiance.
Well, Ian would be happy to know that the inclusion of facial hair was considered the epitome of masculine sexuality at the time.
Really, I will let him know that, and he will watch this later and find out. But go on. I wanted to hear more about if you had anything else. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, that's cool. There's something very striking about this, the deep blues, and then you're getting some of the yellow brightness in the background, but then his just casual, like, I'm just gonna smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got like his hand in his pocket or if it's just the fabric that's going over his
like
hand.
His leg, maybe.
Yeah, but I also like his stance. It's very just nonchalant, like chilling.
Yeah,
kind of get a little player vibe.
A little bit. I mean, at the time too, like people knew that if you had a mustache, I guess. Yeah, right. Get a little bit of wax on the ends there. Ooh, ladies, watch out. Right. Despite Renoir being in the art center of the world, and apparently the Louvre was just not good enough.
Really?
Right? I mean, he loved it. There was a lot of classic artists that he admired. But he took a trip to Italy, and it completely changed the trajectory of his artwork because he's like, oh man, look at all these Renaissance masters. And so he adopted a more formal style and went back to the classicism. And he has a great quote. I had gone as far as I could with Impressionism, and I realized I could neither paint nor draw.
Girl, he lying.
Right, he lied to himself and he lied to us. But he switched it up a little bit and he becomes a lot more heavy-handed and creates like more of an outline with his figures. And I think you can really see it in these two pieces, which I just love. It's Dance in the Country and Dance in the City.
Aww. You know, I like it because you can see the differences in just the way they're dressing.
Yes, the way they're dressing, the background, even like the background in the country is more vague. The one in the city is like somebody probably
looks like
imported some palm trees and tried to look all schwinky, you know, in their ballroom or whatever. And the pose is almost exactly the same, but look at the joy emanating from the country dance versus like the seriousness.
Right. Yeah. It's very more, like you said, it's like that. Don't breathe.
Yeah. Don't breathe. My corset's too tight. Like, I have no choice. Yeah. I just love that juxtaposition and showing the daily life in two different scenarios.
And there's a little kid in the country one. That little boy.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Got the kids going and everything.
You interloper. Oh, that's cute though, because it was more of a family affair versus like the salon, the society getting together in like these formal.
Yes, the more
Yeah, the more exactly. So if we go to the next one, you can really see the difference between the figure and the background here. There's a lot more contrast, it's almost outlined. It's just short of literally being outlined, really, at this point.
It's crazy because it's like a 360 degree like flip from Impressionism. This is not that.
It is not Impressionist at all. It is totally classic style, which, you know, was what he was trying to emulate at the time.
Okay. Well, he's doing a good job so far.
I mean, yeah, I could totally see this as being one of the classic masters.
Yeah. Ooh.
But then he changed it all again.
Okay, as artists do sometimes.
As they do. So to marry the classical figure with a more impressionist background, he used softer lines, and he focused a lot on nudes. He was very enamored of the female form. And then he also included some domestic life.
Okay, I see.
Here we have a lovely domestic moment. I would presume probably two sisters, or maybe the governess teaching her ward how to play piano, whatever it is. It's very peaceful, serene.
Getting a little bit of impressionistic vibes with it.
It is. It's not entirely like fine line detailed, but it's also not like
it's a
super short stroke like we're used to from Impressionism. So it's kind of that merge between the two, which is exactly what he was going for. So good on you, Renoir. You succeeded.
Cute.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about this one, but I'm really into it. I know it's such a simple task, brushing your hair, or if you're a mother, it is an arduous task.
You know, what's interesting is there's always these very simple, mundane things that will catch that, like, the artist does or piece, and we're just gaga over it.
I know.
And it's always just the most simple, basic things. I don't know why that is. But for me, it's the hair, but also the background. They match quite a bit. And I like looking at the hair background, because they're very, very similar.
They're very close. The color palette is almost identical, and you really can't tell the difference. They're basically two different parts of the same thing almost, and it's really just her body that breaks it up.
Because everything's like flowing down, and like you said, the body is what kind of breaks that flowiness.
Exactly. And even the body is very soft, the rosy cheeks, the rounded shoulders. The only thing that really adds kind of some dynamic feeling is the arm going across. It kind of cuts it in half a little bit and makes your eye kind of travel in a circle. So Renoir painted until the day he died.
Okay.
And he had over 700 paintings in his studio at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's nothing because he created over 4,000 paintings.
Wow. Oh,
in his
that's
lifetime.
a lot. That's
It's so
lot.
so much. And in the last year he was alive, 1919, he did get to go to the Louvre and see his work on display with all the old masters.
Oh.
And I just love that for him.
Yes.
While researching Renoir, I stumbled into a rabbit hole that was more epic than any other rabbit hole I've ever experienced on the internet before.
Even the flat earth?
Well, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I just know of it. A popular art dealer at the time was Ambroise Voillard, and he dealt for Renoir, Cézanne, Picasso, a lot of really heavy hitters around the turn of the century. And because he spent so much time with them, he would often sit for portraits. Then it became a thing. And I feel like this is kind of the first viral challenge. Because all these different artists over decades did portraits of him.
That's so cool.
And it's amazing the different styles. You can see him slowly aging. You can see even the same artist doing tons of different styles, whether it's a painting or a sketch or throwing in some cubism, like this whole span. And I feel like he's got to be one of the most painted men in existence.
I was thinking we could probably do a whole episode on just him.
Probably. But I think the challenge now is we both need to do one.
Okay. I was just thinking that.
I'm super excited to highlight Pam Ingalls, our next artist. She was raised in Spokane, Washington, and both of her parents were artists.
Okay.
She actually studied in Florence, so here we are in Italy again. But came back before earning her degree in Washington. The work. Let's talk about this. I wanted to include her because she had a combination of portraits and landscapes and still lifes, just like Renoir. The Impressionist style is strong.
I like seeing all those strokes in there.
I know. I love it so much. The real beauty of this particular one for me is the contrast in color.
Yeah.
The warm and the cool. It just does something to me.
It has a great transition to where it's almost like a rainbow. There's like ice that prisms there just because it's so smooth in its transition.
But it's still chunky at the same time. And that's something I think of a lot while we're instructing. And I will often take my canvas off of the easel and walk it around because the projector kind of washes it out and makes everything look super pretty and smooth, almost like having a filter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look at the brush strokes.
Yeah.
They exist. It's okay if you have brush strokes. And people are always like, oh, thank God. Like, trying so hard.
to make it smooth. Like
I'm like, just don't do it. Yeah. And this is why, because it's so pretty.
Ooh.
I thought this one was hilarious because it is people viewing a solar eclipse.
Yeah.
So it's not the solar eclipse, which most artists would be.
Yeah, you're right.
doing, but it's the people. And I think that's so cool. And it's reminiscent of Renoir because it's just a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
People doing normal people things. And it has the same feeling like that group of women kind of hanging out. They're all very casual. I just love it.
I do too. Oh, she's so cute. She has little flowers on her hair. And I just like the chunkiness. I like these thick strokes.
Yeah, you can see it all. But it doesn't need to be precise.
No.
There's a beauty in the imperfection. And I think that's the natural world anyway. It's kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think Impressionism really helps capture that.
That is so true. So true. Ooh.
It's a bed. It's a bed in somebody's room. It's in disarray. But look how many colors are in white.
You know, what's interesting is, so where the window is, and there's all these like kind of thick strokes, I'm wondering if it's just part of the strokes or if it's kind of like a blob of a curtain kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also like the softness of the light as well.
Yeah.
In comparison to all the other kind of chaotic looking strokes, there's kind of like the softness
Yeah,
over there to
it's
the right.
kind of a place for your eye to rest. It's smoother there. The way it pours across the bed and you get that subtle transition. And then just the way the blanket drapes over the edge and you suddenly see the shadow, which is like a totally different color. It's so beautiful to me. It's subtle, but it's such a great study.
It is. Cute.
You're so cute.
Oh,
This
baby.
makes me think of my grandpa.
Aw.
I used to sit on his lap and he would read me little golden books. And he passed when I was still pretty young. I think it was only 6 or so. So I don't have a ton of memories with him, but that's a very predominant one. So I had to include this because it's just adorable. And you know he's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Totally getting into the story with the kiddo. And it's so cute. And it's just
so
a great little snapshot.
Yeah. I feel like this could be a nice little inspiration for a Purple Easel painting.
I think you may be right about
I
that.
need more drink paintings.
And you know what the really funny part is? My 7-year-old decided to include this one. He's like, that's really pretty. I would drink that. I'm like,
She's probably thinking it's like fruit punch or something.
yeah. She's like, it looks like a Shirley Temple. But it is. It's the same as the Renoir. It's like
This is
the
so
ice
classy
cubes,
looking, yeah.
and the reflection of the ice cubes, the glass. Like, there is something to be said for still lifes. People
Yeah, you know
discount
what?
them.
That is very true.
This could be an ad in a magazine easily.
Oh yeah,
Could be plastered in
definitely.
Times Square for some alcohol company.
This is so schwanky.
It
It has a
is.
schwankiness.
It is. It totally is. And then the color too. You have that like vibrant, like yellowy orange, and then the darker.
Nice contrast.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's the simple things that get me.
Right,
I don't know
yeah.
why. It's just. I love it.
Nice portrait. Oh, I cannot do portraits to save my life. I love people just that can paint faces realistically.
It's still impressionist though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which is, to me, to find the likeness of somebody when you're still using those like vague strokes. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either. I it's like I can see it and I can pick apart from my artistic brain, but I can't do anything like that.
Yeah, it's so impressive.
Yes.
And there are quite a few portraits.
Oh, nice, nice.
Tally says, oh, it's so cute.
Cat, little baby and cat.
And then cat mid yawn is like the best thing ever.
It is. We watch it on the internet all day.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we have, artists of artists, just like Renoir doing Monet. Maybe this girl will turn out to be just as famous. Who knows?
Another still life.
Another
great.
still
Looks
life.
great.
Another cute moment. And this is kind of like your modern piano, I think.
Yeah, very.
They're
That's
looking at a
very-
phone together. I mean,
Yeah, it could be
screen
like-
time, but I guess they're engaging with each other
Yeah.
and doing something still, right?
Well, I like this modern version.
Yeah.
Of something very like kind of classic with that classic touch to it.
Exactly. In light of all this beautiful work,
Okay.
I want to know when there was a time that you saw art, whether it was in a museum or a showcase or whatever, that it really moved you. Like, what's your best memory of viewing art?
Give me a second. What's scrolling through my brain, my memories.
While you think about it, I'll tell you one of mine. So not only did I see Renoir recently at the Getty, which was awesome because I took my 7-year-old and she was like, Mommy, can I take a picture of this one? Turns out it was in the pamphlet with the map, so she recognized it from that, but then it became a mission to find them all. So it was really cool to experience it through her eyes. Your kids are never too young. Take them to museums. But when I was a sophomore in high school, I was finally eligible to join National Art Honor Society, and we were in Minnesota. So we took a bus trip to Chicago and went to the Art Institute. And there was this moment. I walked around a corner into a room, and it was nothing but haystacks and then some water lilies, but it was all Monet. And I stopped short. Like, the person behind me probably bumped into me because I was so taken back. There were all these things, these images that I'd only ever seen in books or on slides. I'm dating myself. We used to have slide presentations in art class, but it was there. It was in real life. And there's something about experiencing art in real life that you can never duplicate. And look at what it did to Renoir. It changed his trajectory multiple times.
Yeah.
Look at all these artists who were drawing the same dude, drawing from life, and they were aware of each other's work because, Picasso did it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there is so much value in going to museums and shows and exhibits. And for me, that was a huge turning point to really realize the value of art in person versus in a book.
Oh, nice.
That's one of my favorite memories.
Oh, okay. I have two, none of which are museum related, but so my mom used to have this like little notepad that she kept numbers in or whatever, but on the front of that notepad was Alphonse Mucha, so obviously it's my favorite. And I didn't know that. I just saw it, and to me, like, looking at it today, because I found it again like a few months ago, and it's like a relic. I'm like, oh, and the pages are all torn up. No. Yeah, but just looking at it, I'm just like, because that's one of the things. Again, I used to stare at when I just, you know, I didn't have a lot of resources when I was a kid to go to places. So for me, it was just what was around me.
Absolutely.
So looking at stuff that was around me, I'm like, oh, beautiful. So that Mucha notebook that she had blew my mind. I don't know why, it just did. And he's my favorite artist. I just love the motifs. The women, they feel like goddesses to me. There's that. And then a separate memory I have is actually an artist that we covered was Alex Gray. And the reason for that is just because if you look, like, you go to an art museum and you see a lot of Monet and you see a lot of Picasso, you see a lot of still life portraits, Well, you know what? I'm not good at none of those. I'm good at still lifes, that's fine, but I'm not I think, like a typical artist because my favorite things to draw and to paint are patterns. So, and that's also why the MC Escher, like anything that's pattern based and motifs, like not necessarily stuff that you see, here it is, it's in a museum, it's pretty. They're mostly just decorative pieces of what is a portrait or whatever. So I actually for a long time didn't think that my art was relevant at all because I didn't see my art in museums. I didn't see it places. So when I came across Alex Gray, I was like, oh, so I can do patterns and it be art and it be recognized as art. Okay. I mean, he is taking like x-rays of the people and stuff, but there's also a lot of other extra like colorful things. And, you know, and I also like Lisa Frank, which is very commercial, but it's very commercial.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So to me, mine is a little bit different just because my style has always been pattern heavy. So seeing artists that do pattern heavy art and being recognized as artists, to me, I'm like, okay, I'm an artist, that's fine.
Yeah.
I can do that and be recognized for just making patterns.
So really, the takeaway is exposure.
Yeah.
Expose yourself, expose your kids, bring art into your home, buy prints, go to museums, whatever it is you have to do, scroll the internet. Talia loves going through Instagram with me and looking at all the different art. It's everywhere. It's so accessible now. And you would be amazed at how often things will inspire you that you didn't expect.
Oh, absolutely. I 1000% agree with that. Your kids will never know what, you just buy something and then they'll go ham over it. And you don't know why they do, but they will. From all of us here, Purple Easel, thank you so much for tuning in.
Make sure to check out today's artists, Pierre-Renoir and Pam Ingalls, in the links below.
Join us at Purple Easel Plus to paint with the world's largest paint and sip studio online.
And if you're in Southern California, make sure to swing by the studio. In the meantime, create more and create often.
Bye. The cocaine. The cocaine.
It's Spokane. It's a typo.
I was sort of like the cocaine, because it wasn't. I didn't know. It's this. Sorry.